Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to part two of the link pages coding assignment tutorial. Um, as we begin this part of the tutorial, let's take stock of the state of our application. Okay, so I'm going to start up the development server and do a run server to get that going. And I'm going to click on the link. And here we are, we're in the EZU application. And in part one, we populated the href attributes for the links in the navigation section. So if we click on instructors or sections or courses, all the way to registrations, we go to the right page. But we haven't fixed the links for the lists in the list pages, right? So for instance, if I click on the instructors navigation link and I go to the instructor list, if I go to click on the individual instructor links, they're still dead. So what we're going to be doing in part two, page by page, right, for each of the lists and structures and sections all the way to registrations, we're going to be getting the links in the list to populate and turn into live links. Okay, so that's where we are. Very good. Okay, now what do we have to do that? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find our way to the template for the first page that we want to work on. And the first of the pages that we want to work on is instructor list. So I work my way over and I open up the template for instructor list. And as you can see here, in the link for each individual instructor, I'm not populating the href attribute. So let's go and add the proper code to make that work. Okay, and I'm going to copy that out of my already baked version. I'm going to copy it and paste it here. What have we got? Well, here's what we have. We're thinking that we might want to go to the detail page for the instructor class. We may want to do that in more than one place. Okay. The other problem that we have, or the other opportunity that we have, is we have a URL that's a little bit harder to create. And the reason it's harder to create is when we go to a detail page, okay, the URL has to include that, instructor slash, and then the primary key ID, and then another slash. Okay, so we have to make sure that we get the right primary key ID in there. And we don't really have that at hand right now. So how are we going to get that? Well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to add another method to the model class for the instructor model class. Okay, so what's the method going to be called? It's going to be called get absolute URL. What do we mean by absolute? Well, I think it's probably an unfortunate exaggerated kind of name. But I think the idea that here that they have is that, every individual object that's in the system has kind of a home page. And that's the detail page that's associated with that object. And it's absolute in that kind of sense. It's the home page for that uh, instructor. Okay? So here's how the call works. We've got the double curly braces, which means so that we're putting in template code and we're calling get absolute URL. So let's us go to the model. Okay, let's go to models.py and let's go to the instructor class. And it doesn't currently have a get absolute URL method. So we're going to have to code one. And I already have one that is created in my completed code. So let me insert this here. Okay, so where do I want to insert a get absolute URL method? I think a good place for it would be after the string method that we added a couple of weeks ago and before the internal class meta. So we're going to put it right here and I'm going to paste it. Okay, so we've got the header get absolute URL. As a method, it's always going to have the reference to self, the object itself, in this case the instructor object. And then we're just going to call reverse. Okay, reverse is going to get us the reverse is going to use the path entry in urls.py the other way around. Okay, the only thing we've used them for well, yeah, we've already done this for the navigation links, so we know how to do this, right? So what we're going to say is use the code that's in urls.py, use it to generate the URL, and the way that you do that is that you call the reverse function and then you pass it the name of the URL pattern. And then we pass it a second parameter, and it's a keyword parameter, and it has this name quargs, which stands for keyword arguments. And what's the value? We give it a dictionary, and the only keyword that we want to pass in is we want to say that we're passing the PK, that's the label, and then the value is self.pk, so it's going to get the primary key for this instructor, and it's going to fill that in. And that's going to be everything that the code that we're calling needs in order to build the proper URL. Okay, so let's see how that works. Now, we need an import still, so we're going to hover over that says import this name. Okay, let's import it. And we have two possibles, audio OP and Django.urls. We want the one that's in Django.urls, so we add that. Okay, so we should have everything that we need. We need to change the link in the template, okay, and then because it calls the get absolute URL method in the model class, we have to add that to the model class. Oh, and we have one extra blank line before this meta internal class. Okay, I got rid of that. That looks good. Okay, so let's open up the browser here, and let's go to the page for instructors, and now the links should be working. So let's go to Dan Hall. Here's I think we're going to the wrong place. So the instructor list is going to Dan Hall. It doesn't appear to be going to Dan Hall. Okay. I know why. I copied the wrong code. Let's look. So if you go to the wrong place, that means you probably are going to the wrong thing. So I was cloning before, okay, when I practiced all of these. And the last one I practiced was the creating the links for the registration list page. Well, that's not what I want. So I don't want to find the URL pattern for the registration detail. I want to find the URL pattern for the instructor detail. Let's do that. So I'm going to click off of that code so it saves. Now let's come back and see if we can actually make it work the right way. Okay, so now when we click on the link for Dan Hall, we should go to the Dan Hall instructor page. And we do. That's good. Okay. Bill Qualls. Very good. One of the two Mary Smiths. That's working fine. Now, so far, none of those instructors is teaching any sections. Okay, but if we click on my link, Kevin Trainer, we'll see that I'm teaching 4 sections in the current semester. Great. Now, are the links in here going to work? No, they're not going to work because we haven't yet to fix those, right? So we will, okay, when we get to the instructor detail page. Okay, right now we're on the instructor list page. Okay, so we're coming along, kind of assignment by assignment, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so that one worked. Now we're going to do one more as a group, and then I'm going to turn you loose on doing the rest. Okay, so the second one that we want to do, here, let me just fire up the browser again. What I'd like to do these is, when I'm adding the code, I'd like to do it according to the order of the links we have up in the navigation bar. So we did instructor list. Now we're going to do section list. Okay. All right. So to do section list, we're going to need the template page. Let's go open that up. Section list.html. Okay. And then we can see here, this is where the code is going to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the code that we put into the link on instructor list. I'm just going to go over there. And I'm going to copy that, and then we'll make some cloning related changes. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to section list. I'm going to paste it right into the href attribute. And the only problem that we have here is that we're getting the absolute URL for the instructor, and we're in the section. So, okay, we need to do it for section. Section. All right. So that should be fixed. And we probably don't, yeah. Good. Yeah. That looks just like I like it. Okay, so now we need to put the get absolute URL method into the section class in models.py. So go to models.py, and I'm just going to take the version of get absolute URL that I put into Instructor, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to find my way to section, which is down towards the bottom, and I want to put it after the string method and before the class, before the meta internal class. Okay, so let's paste that in there. Okay, and then we have to remember to make the final change here. Instead of pointing it to the instructor detail URL pattern, we want to go to the section detail URL pattern. Click off of the code that we changed, and then let's just go right back to the page. Okay, so this is the page because of the changes, change that we made back in part 1. The section list has become the landing page. So each of these should actually take us to the detail page for the section. And let's just see if that happens. It's not happening. So, oh, you know what happened there? I had to refresh the page. So, for some reason, the page that I had gone to had not been generated by the new version of the code. Perhaps the browser had cached the page. Okay, so let's go up here, and I refreshed the page, and now it ran the code again, the new version of the code, and now these are proper working links for a section detail page. So the first one works, and usually if I have a whole list of things, I'll check the first one and I'll check the last one. Yeah, they both seem to work. Okay. Okay, great. So far together, we've made the changes to put the link into the list of pages for instructor and section. Now, what I'd like to do is to turn it over to you and have you, by cloning the code that we've already put in, I want you to add this capability for course, semester, student registration. Okay, and I'm going to let you do that, and I'm going to say bye until part 3. See you soon. Bye-bye.